Okay.
Yes. Hello, good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning in any parts of the world. And we welcome you to the episode of the new West Philippine Sea Catch with the topic on converging currents, India and the Philippines emerging partnership in the Indo-Pacific amid geopolitical flux. And of course, we welcome a lot of our students, our experts, our military men, government agencies, and of course, we will be introducing to you our guest speaker. And before we proceed to the main program, I would like to read the disclaimer. Any views, opinions, comments, or presentation of facts of the guest speakers, panelists, guests, attendees, and netizens are personal and do not necessarily reflect the stand and opinions of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea, nor the organizations they are affiliated with. Now, I would like to ask everyone to put your right hand over your left chest or simply to stand up for our Philippine national anthem, Lupang Hinirang. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who have not seen this Lupang Hinirang video by our brave military men in Pag-asa Island, of course, I would like to give you some kind of overview about that. They planted the Philippine flag in the so-called Sandy Cay 1, that's or in local name Secret Island, which is approximately uh, 2 nautical miles away from Pag-asa Island or the Tito Island. So in the background, you probably heard the PA system coming from the Chinese Coast Guard. they were trying to chase out our military men in in the Stanley Cave. One, as you know, there are 4 caves near the Pag-asa Island, in the Pag-asa Island. It was named already by the municipality of Calayan. So you have Stanley Cave 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4 is the one nearest to the Subirit, which belongs to the Philippines, where the China built an artificial island and militarized it. So that's the background of that video about our Lupang Hinirang. And thank you so much for our brave military men who sent this one to me. Okay? Salute to all of you. All right. Now, of course, before we will introduce to you our guest speaker, I would like to call on my co-host. And we have Captain Carl O. Schuster. He's a retired U.S. Navy and a retired professor of the Hawaii Pacific University in Honolulu, Hawaii, on the military and diplomacy program. And he's a defense consultant, a security expert, and the former director of operations of the Joint Intelligence Command, intelligence of the U.S. Pacific Command in Pearl Harbor, Manila. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and a pleasure, as always, to present to you my co-host live from Honolulu, Hawaii, Captain Carl O. Schuster.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Lampkin. Pleasure to be here, as always.
Yes, thanks a lot. And of course, you know, we have also Professor Ron Lampkin, my beloved husband. He's a lifetime member and an advisor consultant of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. Now, it's about time that we are so blessed and lucky to have our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Kumari Mansi. Dr. Kumari Mansi is an assistant professor of Amity University, Haryana, India. Prior to that, she worked with the School of Foreign Languages in the Ministry of Defense in India. Dr. Mansi is an Indo-Pacific Research Fellow of the Pacific Foundation of Canada and a Deputy Director of the Indo-Pacific Studies Center, Australia, an Honorary Research Associate of the Murdoch University in Australia, and the National Chengchi University, Taiwan, and a non-resident fellow of the Taiwan Center for Security Studies in Taiwan. She is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Fellow in 2023 at National Chengchi University in Taiwan and a recipient of the Ministry of Education Taiwan Short-Term Research Award Fellowship in 2022 at the postdoctoral level. Dr. Mansi is an interdisciplinary researcher. Her current area of research includes the geopolitics of the Indo-Pacific region, with particular focus on the Indian Ocean. At present, she's working on the evolving power dynamics in the Indian Ocean region and India-Taiwan ties. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor and a pleasure to present to you and introduce to you our guest speaker for tonight, Dr. Kumari Mansi, live from India. Good evening, Dr. Mansi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lampkin. Thank you so much for having here. And let me begin by thanking you, thanking Captain Carl, Professor Ron, and the whole team of National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. And I have been associated with this movement for almost 3 years, and it's always a pleasure to be here to interact with you all, and I'm really very excited and honored to be here for this timely talk, which is on India-Philippines ties. And I'm going to share my screen, the entire screen. Share and okay. Can you see my screen? Okay, is this visible?
Yes, we can see it. We can see it now.
Thank you so much. Okay, yeah, this is better. So, as I said, this is a very timely talk. As you know that the President Marcos Jr. was here in India for a state visit. This is only the second state visit, and it is almost in 20 years time that sitting Filipino president was here in India. And as you can see, the topic of my talk is converging currents. So basically what I'm trying to look at is how India and Philippines are converging in terms of interest amid the geopolitical. The term I have used is flux, but the most appropriate term would be assured, which is actually the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has used time and again to describe the geopolitical situation of today. So this is the topic of my talk today. And before I start my presentation, Dr. Celia, how much time do I have?
Oh, you can 20, 25 minutes.
Okay,
that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
So, yes. That is fine. Just a second. Right. So to guide my presentation, these are the following main points I will be looking at, which would be I will be concentrating on the President Marcos visit, and why it is important given the present geopolitical situation. Then I will also briefly touch upon India-Philippine relations and how it has emerged from periphery to a strategic pivot, which we are seeing in the current context. Then we'll also see what are the main points or the main agenda which was undertaken this week, and then finally we'll drive at the conclusion. So basically, I'm going to walk you through this bilateral relation in the present geopolitical context, trying to figure out how, why, and what are the area of convergences, and I won't say divergences, but basically the convergences, and how this can be read at three levels: the bilateral level, the regional level, and the international level. So let me just begin my presentation by showing you these two images. So on the left, what you see is basically a stamp which was unveiled by the President Marcos and Prime Minister Modi to commemorate the 75th anniversary of India and Philippines diplomatic ties. And on the right-hand side, what you see is, both the leaders shaking hands, and, you can read the body language, which was like very cordial and, very warmly welcomed. Then I'll show you some of the snippets from the media coverage to give you a sense of what were the points which were discussed, and what were the issues which were raised over the 4 days visit of the president. Now, let me situate it in a global context. I have placed Trump on the number one, not China, for the apparent reasons, because what Trump presents to us is a major uncertainty, and he is at present a major geopolitical risk. With him comes the uncertainty, not just in the diplomatic ties, but in terms of security, in terms of economics. So he is a major geopolitical risk, followed by China. With China, we know that it's an existential threat. We know that it poses a military, threat to both Philippines and India, and also the other countries in the region. So China is there. Russia I have intentionally brought in here. Also, some of you might, argue that Russia is not an Indo-Pacific region, which I do not agree, because because Russia is also an important player in the Indo-Pacific, and especially given the Russia-China no limits friendship narrative. It is important for India, for China, and also, the other key players in the region. And then what we have is, of course, the Indo-Pacific, which we are looking at as a major theater of great power rivalry between the United States and China, with the major flashpoint like the Taiwan Strait, like the South China Sea, Himalayan border, which I consider as a territorial dimension of the Indo-Pacific. And finally, how or whether India and Philippines can act as a potential balancer in this broader Indo-Pacific region. So this is the global context. In the regional context, you will see the volatile neighborhood, which we have here in India, in South Asia also, and also in the ASEAN. In ASEAN, not as much as volatile as it is in the South Asia, but certainly we do have, in the ASEAN countries also have the regional problems. And then, of course, at the international level, where we have US versus China, US versus Russia, then you have Europe. So, this is a whole global system which is undergoing a profound change. And that change is also coming from the realization of the fact that United States is in decline, and there might be a subtle shift in the balance of power, especially in Asia, towards China, which we don't want, which India would never want, and it is not in the interest of the countries in the region. So what role can India, Philippines play together? Now, talking about the bilateral ties between India and Philippines, I'll just give you a few pointers as in how it developed and why I say that it was at the periphery, and now in last 2-3 years it is that there has been a strategic pivot. So as you can see here, okay, so this is a very it's a timeline showing some of the major events which took place in the trajectory of India-Philippines ties. So, like in 1949, immediately after gaining independence, both the countries established the diplomatic relations. In 1951, you have Philippines did sign a mutual treaty defense with the United States. In 1952, India and Philippines signed a treaty of friendship. Now, if you look at the timeline, you will see that till 1991, India and Philippines were not interacting much. They were basically, at the arm's length, they were at distance. This is because of the Cold War politics which was going on. Philippines got into United States orbit, became a ally of the treaty partner ally of the United States, whereas that India was very much non-aligned, and so that alliance politics was one major factor which kept both the countries apart. Then you also have the domestic problem, especially in context of India. It was nation building, and then when we got the independence, it was a weak, fragile nation. Poverty, hunger, security challenges. Then we have 62 war with China, and then 3-4 wars with Pakistan. So we were at that time inward looking, too much concentrating on our internal security threat, as well as the threat coming from the immediate neighbor. So these were some of the major things which kept both the countries apart. And then Philippines also had its own problems, domestic and regional, which was going on. So both the countries were basically busy with this Cold War politics, and also the domestic and the regional politics. Then the major thing came here in 1967, when Philippines became an ASEAN, a founding member of the ASEAN, and that this is also one important factor which later on led to India-Philippines interacting more. Then we have the end of the Cold War, and in 1991, with the disintegration of the USSR, and India began liberalizing. And with that liberalization, India adopted the Look East policy. Now, with that Look East policy, India started looking at ASEAN and started forging ties with ASEAN there. And then finally, it was in 1997 when there was the first State visit by the President of Philippines, President Fidel V. Ramos. He was the first to make this state visit to India. Now, you might say that, Marcos Sr. also visited India, but back in 60s, if I'm not wrong, but that was, a visit where he was passing by. It was not a state visit. Now, if you look at this chart, some of the things are very important here. The first, I would refer to 1952 Treaty of Friendship between both the countries and opening of the embassy. But again, the limited engagement which was there, as I mentioned. But if we look at 90s, India joined the ASEAN Regional Forum. Now that becomes very important because that also opened up avenues for cooperating and, getting in touch with Philippines and, starting working together. So in 2006, India becomes ARF Defense Dialogue Partner, and there was a memorandum of agreement which was signed between India and Philippines on the defense cooperation. Now, based on that memorandum of understanding, there was this joint commission on bilateral cooperation was established, which has met till now for the 5 times. Then 2017, you have President Duterte visiting India, but again, that was not a state visit. It was an ASEAN-India summit. For that, he visited here. Now, fast forward to 2020. What happened in 2020 is, known to the world community. We had this clashes in Galwan Valley, and that again gave a sort of reality check that, India needs to again rethink and be more invested in the in not just the immediate vicinity, but also in the extended neighborhood. Now, with coming of the Modi government back in 2014, the Look East policy was revamped into Act East policy. So that started giving more impetus on India's relationship with this ASEAN and other extended neighboring countries. So Act East policy of India is also something which emphasized and is one of the cornerstones of the India-Philippines ties. Now, in 2021, this was the first ever Navy-to-Navy passage exercise in the West Philippines Sea, which India undertook. Then the second landmark in the bilateral relations was 2022 BrahMos missile deal, which Philippines signed with India, and thus it became the first foreign buyer of this BrahMos missile system, which India is jointly developing with Russia. Now, in 2023, now these are the landmarks, because in 2023, it was the first ever visit by Philippines Coast Guard to India, and there were a couple of MOUs signed. So one such MOU was on the enhanced maritime cooperation and also on the standard operating procedure to operationalize the MOU on the exchange of white shipping information, which was signed back in 2019. So more and more institutionalization of the bilateral ties, especially in defense. And BrahMos missile deal was one such landmark, which basically an anchor point. Now, in 2023, also India-Philippines intelligence exchange meeting held, it was held. And this was the first time in the history that India, not just noted the 2016 arbitral award, but it acknowledged and it called out China. So that was a very apparent shift in India's position towards South China Sea, when it called out China, and it came in support of Manila. So that was a very important turning point. Now, in 2024, what you see was the delivery of the first battery of the BrahMos supersonic anti-ship cruise missile. So that was the first delivery. The first battery was delivered in 2024, and the second battery was delivered this year. And during the president visit, it was also that the more BrahMos purchase are on the card. And not just that, the President Marcos also said that there are a lot of other things, defense equipments, which are on the which are there. Now, before the president visited India, there was 3 Indian naval ships made a port call to Manila, and after that, it was the first India-Philippines joint operation near the Scarborough shoal. So basically, this is again a landmark, because before that there used to be naval drills, but this is something which is called maritime cooperative activity. So basically, this is more for the interoperability between the navies of the two countries. So that is a very important landmark. Now, of course, China did react to that, and there are reports that China started placing its own navy ships there, and China called out that without naming India, it was saying that it should stay out of it, and it is not good for the peace and stability in the region. And then you have President visiting India from 4th to 8th. He left yesterday from Bangalore, which was his last leg of the visit. So what all happened during his visit? So the first important thing which happened was this one: the elevation of ties. So India and Philippines are now the strategic partnership. So that is the first major takeaway. This is the realization of the fact that how important Philippines has become in terms of India's Act East policy, India's broader vision of the free, open, inclusive, transparent Indo-Pacific, and at the same time, how important India has become for Philippines, not just from the point of view of economics, but also from the defense. And also they share the same vision. But before leading up to this ties, there are some other facts and figures also which needs our attention, like the bilateral trade. So bilateral trade, although it's not very much as I mean, if you compare between how India trades with ASEAN countries, and Philippines is somewhere at the 6th position. So there is a lot of scope there. But even then, from 2021 to 2023, it's all the trade has almost doubled. I would say there are investments. There are around 5 million Indian investment in Philippines, whereas from Philippines is very nominal for the time being, but there is a lot of scope. There are some big Indian companies which are operating in Philippines for the time being. They're mostly in the ITs and healthcare, pharmaceutical. In fact, pharmaceutical makes around 12% of the total Filipino import. The biggest being from the United States. So these are all some of the developments of the 5 years, which has led to this moment where, I mean, this is the Instagram post from the president's official handle, where he's saying that it is a major epoch, right? It's like they announced that the formal launch of the strategic partnership between India and Philippines. And I would like to mention here that India is just the 5th country with which Philippines has elevated these ties and is the strategic partner now. So now there are some of the other major statements or major decisions which were made. One such is the plan of action. So the plan of action from 2025 to 2029 has been adopted by 2 countries, and the intention is basically to realize the full potential of not just the bilateral, but also regional and international cooperation between the 2 countries. And of course, I mean, if you read the statement, it would say that the mutual commitment to the strengthen bilateral relations, but it is a very holistic approach with both the countries has taken, and the range of issues which are covered between the countries are starting from the political cooperation, defense, security. Maritime, of course, is a big chunk of that. Economics, trade, investment, science, tech, I mean, you name it, and it is there. So some of the major key initiative which I want to bring your attention to, the first is which caught my attention is the interaction between legislature. So basically encouraging young politicians, young parliamentarians to interact with each other. Now, this is a very important step, because this will form the basis of grassroots understanding of both the countries, right? Because, these the bilateral relations are conducted between countries to countries, that's true. But at the same time, if you have a grassroots level understanding of the two countries, then there would be a bipartisan, or in India's scale, multi-partisan support for this strategic relationship. So this is a very important initiative which has been taken. Then there is the institutionalization of engagement. So engagements are taking place, that's fine, but it needs to be more institutionalized, more organized. So what you see is that the statement and the commitment is being made that there would be more of military training activities, service to service interaction. So basically the tri-services, Army, Navy, Air Force, all coming together and interacting with each other. Then maritime cooperation, which is very important in the broader Indo-Pacific vision of India. And last year was the inaugural of the annual India Philippines Maritime Dialogue. So it happened last year in Manila. This year India is going to host it. So that is also, one way of institutionalizing the relationship. And then of course, you have others like maritime domain security, shipbuilding, ship repair. The other thing which is important is also the co-development and co-production of the defense equipment. Now, you might have seen that how defense ties have driven the bilateral relation. So this is an important step where it's not just a buyer-seller relationship, but it's basically like a partner. So let's co-develop, let's co-produce, because we face the same sort of existential crisis or threat, and we share the same vision of the peace and stability in the region. Then counterterrorism is also very important. In fact, when President Marcos was speaking, he was also one of the first leaders to condemn the Pahalgam attack, and then he also lauded India's Operation Sindoor. And in one of his interviews to one of the Indian channels, he said that he was really impressed by the kind of operation India conducted, and also how the Indian equipments defense system performed there. So there is a full paragraph on this cooperation on the counterterrorism, terrorism financing, and all those things, how to tackle. So this is because terrorism is something which is very is something which India has been tackling for a very long time. And this is good to see that now countries are realizing the fact that, yes, it is a real threat which the region is facing. Then it was also decided to expedite the conclusion of preferential trade agreement between India and Philippines. Again, this is a major step, because it will give boost to the bilateral trade ties between the country, where there is a lot of scope to improve. And it was also decided to review the ASEAN-India trade in goods agreement, and Philippines is going to be chairing the ASEAN from next year, and is also the ASEAN India country coordinator. So Philippines' position and help and a cooperation there is needed from Indian part. Then under the Indian grant assistant, it was announced that more QIPs, quick impact projects, will be identified. Till now, there are 6 QIPs which has been successfully implemented, and Prime Minister Modi said in his address that there would be more. So that is something which is basically providing for the ground or grassroots development in Philippines, rather than making claim for the big infrastructure development which cannot be realized. So the target here is to identifying what is the need of the hour and starting small, and then building on it. So that is also really important here. Then in terms of connectivity, so it is not just the physical connectivity between both the countries, but also digital. Like India has a very good digital DPI, public infrastructure. So that is something which also gives a lot of scope between cooperation between the two countries, and then the financial linkage. So in terms of connectivity, is both physical, digital, and financial. And in terms of physical connectivity, there has been announcement that India and Philippines will have the direct flights now. Air India, Air India announced that it will be starting Delhi to Manila flights from October. And then visa-free entry has been granted to Indian tourists, and India has announced that it will be granting e-visas for Filipino nationals. So this is again a very big step which will give boost to tourism. And Indians these days are traveling a lot. And when I was looking at the figures of Indian tourists to Philippines, it is relatively less as compared to Vietnam or Indonesia or Thailand. So this is something which is really important step in terms of people to people ties and connections. And then again, this mutual legal assistance treaty on criminal matters have been concluded. So basically, kind of synchronizing the legal assistance sort of thing. So that is also important there. And the treaty on transfer of sentenced person between both the countries. So these were some of the key initiatives. And if you look at the list of the outcomes which have been enlisted on the MEAs, most of the points I have already covered, like the terms of reference between Navy, Air Force, and Army of both the countries, that has been set. And then not just in the maritime domain, but also in the space. So there is a sort of statement of intent between ISRO, which is India's space research organization, and Philippines Space Agency on the cooperation on the peaceful use of outer space. Right? So now we are not fighting just on land or on water, but it's also there on the outer space. And if you look at the story of India's rise as a space power, you'll be surprised to see how India is launching so many satellites in space, and it is very cost effective. So the case in point is India's Mars mission. The budget was even less than the movie Interstellar. I mean, just to give you a context. So it is very efficient, low cost, and there is a lot of scope of collaboration and cooperation there. And of course, terms of reference for enhanced maritime cooperation between Indian Coast Guard and Philippine Coast Guard. So these are some of the very important tangible outcomes which you can see on ground. And the major announcement, the very important one, is that India is to extend support on a pilot project for setting up Philippines sovereign data cloud infrastructure. Now, you know that data privacy and how to safeguard your data is something which is, and who owns the data? Because this is a gray zone. This is an area which there is no sort of global governance on it. So having a sovereign data cloud infrastructure is something very important, and India has announced that it will help Philippines build one for itself. The other tangible and which is going to be very important is the Philippines participation in IFC-IOR. So Information Fusion Center of Indian Ocean regions. This is based here in Delhi NCR. And there are around 10 countries at the moment who are participating in here, and Philippines is going to be joining IFC-IOR. It will help in the maritime domain awareness. So this is also very important in terms of the bilateral relations between both the countries, and of course the term of reference for negotiation on the preferential trade agreement. So the idea here is to negotiate this preferential trade agreement as soon as possible. Now, on the Indo-Pacific, both the countries reaffirm their shared interest in the free, open, transparent, rule-based, inclusive, prosperous. I mean, this is the point which is, this is the convergence point, basically. how both the country look at the Indo-Pacific and the peace and stability there. And there is also a recognition of the vital role of the seas and oceans in achieving development need of not just of the two countries, but also all the developing economies in the region. And of course, as we know that Philippines is a very important and central pillar in ASEAN. Philippines support for India and ASEAN strategic partnership is also very important. So it was also mentioned that both the countries will try to explore cooperation under AOIP, ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific, and Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative by India. Now, on the South China Sea, again, a shift from previous India's position. There was apparent mention that India does, stand by Philippines in the matter, and India said that that 2016 arbitral award on South China Sea is significant milestone and the basis for peaceful resolving disputes. So basically, it's calling out to China that okay, you need to adhere to this ruling. And there was also concerns expressed of the situation in the South China Sea. Now, Chinese response, as I earlier also mentioned, that Beijing started revamping its Navy and Coast Guard activity in South China Sea the moment it got to know about both the countries, undertaking MCAs, and it actually tried to out-China it. And at any point of time, there were two PLA Navy who were actually trying to disrupt the exercise, but and if you look at the statement from both the navies, they did not mention the exact location, but there are reports that it was somewhere near the Scarborough Shoal, which is actually in Philippines EEZ, and which China claimed. So this has spooked China, and China immediately started taking up action and trying to intimidate, as it always does. And then there is this statement by the PLA command spokesperson that such activities had undermined peace and stability in the region. Now this is something which you need to take with a pinch of salt. Who is undermining peace and stability is known to everyone. And finally, there was this, China has also reacted to President Marcos' statement on Taiwan. So President Marcos gave an interview to the Indian news channel where he was asked about whether Philippines will be involved if there is if China invades Taiwan. And President mentioned that if anything like that happens, Philippines cannot stay out of it. Now, that is something which has sparked a lot of protest in China, and Chinese embassy has lost serious protest and is saying that Philippines is playing with fire. And so these are some of the Chinese response to the fact that India and Philippines are now closer than ever. Now, how do we look at these? How do we look at this new development? How do we look at India and Philippines moving together, coming together, and what next for both the countries? Now, to my understanding, it can be analyzed from the three perspectives: bilateral, of course, then regional, and then the international. Now, bilaterally, if you see, there is a realization of the fact in India that Philippines is a very important anchor, a very important country in India's Act East policy and India's Mahasagar vision. So that is a realization of the fact, as this is a very important country in ASEAN, and also India and Philippines are on the same page when it comes to the existential threat. We are facing the same kind of threat from China. Philippines is facing the same in the South China Sea. We are facing it at the Himalayas, and also there is the South China Sea playbook which China is trying to do in the Indian Ocean region. And Philippines is the only, I would say the only country who has been so vocal in calling out China. So there is a synergy there. We are on the same page. So on the bilateral terms, we face the same existential threat. And of course, there is a lot of potential to work together, to come together, to address the common challenge which we have. So that is on the bilateral level. And the regional level, if we see in the, India and Philippines is a very important partner in the region and also a very important member of the ASEAN. So working with Philippines to maintain the regional peace and stability is logical. And I'm just it should have been done long before. It took so much of time to realize this fact and move ahead together. And the international level, if you see that how this whole geopolitical situation is emerging. So we have the Trump factor, which I already mentioned. So Philippines also face the same Trump tariff. And if you are following the news now, India face around 50% of the tariff threat. And India-America ties are at the lowest. So there is a lot of setback between both India-US relations, which both countries took almost 20 years to build. Right now, it is at the lowest point. All the trade talks have been halted for the time being. In terms of defense, India has said that it's not going ahead with the F-35 purchase. All those things are put under hold. In last 24 hours, India received call from the Brazilian president. He spoke to President Putin. China is calling out on is calling out EU as a bully and has welcomed Prime Minister Modi to visit China. So Modi is visiting China for the SCO meeting. Putin is visiting India. President Lula is talking to India. So there is a lot of things. The NSA Doval was in Moscow, right? And yesterday, India has taken a very strong position on this American bully, and India has said that it's not going to open its agricultural market, its fisheries, and all those point of contention. And yesterday, while speaking to Putin, the Prime Minister also wrote in his Twitter X handle about the kind of warm, strategic, privileged partnership he hailed basically. So basically, it's a snub to Trump, right? So there's so many things which are going on internationally. So it is only logical for the cooler heads to prevail. So both the countries, while working together in the region, has a lot of scope to add to the international stability in the broader Indo-Pacific region. Trump does pose a challenge, but at the same time, it is an opportunity for the countries to explore and diversify ties, not just the economic ties, also the defense ties. And Philippines has done it. So has India. Now, there is also, it's a success story of Make in India program also, where India, which once used to export, 80-90% of its equipment and defense infrastructure from abroad, is now making it here and exporting. And Philippines and other countries like Vietnam, they are becoming an important defense partner. So basically, India is emerging as a very good defense partner to these countries because Indian equipments are cheaper as compared to the Western world, the Western ones. And it also effective in ways that it can be tailor made as per the requirement of the particular countries. Here in case of Philippines, the BrahMos missiles, the battery which was delivered, they are basically like surface to air missiles. They are movable, right? They are movable, so they can be I think they are being placed somewhere near Luzon, if I'm not pronouncing the name incorrectly. And with the kind of range it has, it can actually target in the South China Sea. So basically they can be tailor-made as per the requirement of the country. So there are a lot of opportunity there. And no matter even if Trump is saying India is a dead economy, It is not. We are the fastest growing economy. We are the fourth largest economy. We have a huge consumer base. So this is only like diversifying economic relations. It's something which is an opportunity here. And then, of course, China factor is there, which we have discussed at length. India would not like China to play South China playbook in the Himalayas and in the IOR. So that is also one of the reasons why India is becoming more involved with the South China Sea now, because we also have a lot of interest. We have diaspora, we have investment, and we have the strategic interest there. So how about a BRICS plus framework? So President Marcos was asked whether he will consider joining BRICS, and he said that, well, it cannot be ruled out, right? So that is something which I know maybe Trump is somebody who does not like BRICS, and the kind of action, the kind of things which he is doing, he is basically forcing the BRICS countries to come together. I mean, look at Brazil, Russia, China, India. They are all coming together. And now with BRICS Plus, there are 10 countries. Together, they can probably come up with some sort of mechanism to work around that Trump tariff. Now, that is something which is very much reality. And President Marcos has said that, like, everything is on the card. Like, we'll think about it. So we never know. What is the alternative to the United States-led economic system? Can BRICS Plus? I mean, this is a big question. There is a potential. Framework has to be found out, but the way world is moving right now, nothing is certain. You never know. This could be a very much real possibility. So yeah, Philippines involvement or Philippines joining BRICS Plus is something which, I mean, it cannot be ruled out. So I would like to quote Prime Minister Modi here and my presentation. So Modi said during his address, India and Philippines are friends by choice and partners by destiny. From Indian Ocean to the Pacific, we are united by shared values. Ours is not just a friendship of past, but it is a promise to the future. A very strong statement and sentiments both. And in India's Act East policy and Mahasagar vision, the Philippines is an important partner. We are committed to peace, security, prosperity, and rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific region. And we support freedom of navigation as per the international laws. So both the countries are very vital for the broader Indo-Pacific region, for the peace, stability, and security in the region. And it is only logical, and it was actually much needed that both the countries are working together. So that is the convergence of the current, not just on the geopolitical waters of the Indo-Pacific, but also in space, also in defense, also in all the other, I mean, there are so many, sectors which have been covered under all these key initiatives which have been taken. So it has so much of scope. It's just that it is a very good start, and more stronger ties are yet to come. With that, I will end my presentation. Thank you so much for being patient, and I look forward to your questions, your comments, your observations. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumari Mansi, for that excellent presentation, insights, and of course, you have given us that kind of history, of course, of the relationship and diplomatic ties of India and the Philippines until now, with the visit of President Marcos in India from August 4th to August 8th. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I would like to call on Captain Schuster if you have some, reaction to the presentation of Dr. Kumari. Thank you. Oh, kindly unmute Captain Schuster, please.
You go through this when you're my age.
I know.
I think that Dr. Kamari Mansi made some very telling points. There is a tendency in great powers to think that they are the authors of all movement in international affairs. And that hasn't been the case since 1950. And the other thing, too, about the India-Philippine partnership, it's been my observation historically that if a relationship is purely based on military and security considerations, it doesn't last. The integration of their economies, the integration of, shall we say, I'm going to say cultures, that's not quite the right term, but the interactions between the people and the economy and political and diplomatic, that strengthens a partnership and gives it what we call legs when I was in the military. It makes it more endurable. And the other problem, of course, with military partnerships is they tend to be one-dimensional. And so I thought these were very good points. And from a deterring of China perspective, I think that it strengthens the deterrence. The BrahMos missile is, in my view, superior to most of the Western anti-ship cruise missiles. And the reason is the reaction to the range is greater and the reaction time from the target is less. But more importantly, it shows that Philippines has more than one venue for support. You never have too many partners, and you never have too many alternatives. And in the end, tactics, equipment, technology, they're all very important, don't get me wrong. But if you don't have more than one source for things, then one act or one decision can cut you off from that. And in the end, what you have in your hand and what you can get in a crisis is more important than any treaty that's based on a single partnership. So I thought those were very good. The other thing, too, is unfortunately, I don't see any evidence China has learned that its bullying has driven countries together who otherwise would not have thought of it. And that's a lesson I think that can be applied to other countries other than China, shall we say. But I thought it was outstanding, and I thought the points were very, very telling. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Captain Schuster, for those excellent insights and responses and observations, of course. Now, I would like to read the question of Dr. Dries Larafi. He's a university professor. Of course, I'm sure a lot of you knows him, and he's a university professor of on international studies of IBN to a file in Keritna, Morocco. Okay. First, his comment is India, through identical cultural ties, has a rich common history, could surely empower and strengthen deterrence capabilities of China's enemies. His question is India's expansion of Navy and notably SLBM, or the submarine launched ballistic missile, could be a catalyst to join West Pacific to deter China? That's the question coming from Dr. Laravi. Dr. Kumari, thank you.
So if I understood the questions correctly, the question is about India's expanding Navy in the Pacific to deter China.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you. So, so my response would be, see, from India's perspective, India wants to take advantage of its strategic location in the Indian Ocean region. That is the place where we are. That's our. Geographically, we are a resident power there, and we have a very strong position there. And Indian Navy is very active there. When it comes to Pacifics, physically that is a distant one. So what India is doing in the Pacific is trying to work with the like-minded partners. India is now reaching out to also these what do you say, SIDS countries, small island developing states there. So, I mean, in terms of logistic, it is only logical that India takes care of the Indian Ocean region. When it comes to deterring China in the Pacific, I mean, in Pacific, there are bigger actors involved. You have US, you have Australia, you have Japan, all those are there. India can work with them. Indian Navy is working with them. There's a lot of logistic exchange agreements which are being signed, which have been signed with Australia, with Japan, with the US, of course, we have with France and all those. But I don't see Indian Navy expanding. I mean, that would be logistically draining. So why not to maintain the stronghold where we are stronger? And our concern is growing Chinese presence in the IOR. In the Pacific, that is the headache of Americans, that is the headache of Australians. Of course, we are there, we are working with them, but our headache is here in the IOR. So Indian Navy has taken a very strong position in the IOR, especially with this naval symposium, which Indian Navy has initiated, a lot of joint drills, patrols. I mean, you might have seen the news how Indian Navy has been mobilized during the Houthi attack and all those search and rescue in terms of HADR and stuff. So I think Indian Navy would like to maintain that strategic advantage here in the IOR. In the Pacific, it is going to work with on the issue-based coalitions. That is my understanding of Indian Navy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumari, for that excellent response and insights. Cabinet Sister, would you like to react on that, please?
The only thing I can do is reinforce her comment about logistics. People sometimes forget that. In fact, most discussions about navies, just like most discussions about armies, completely ignore logistics. And so I think India is following, I think, the best wisdom they have. They're looking at partnerships. Partnerships reinforce you when mutual interests are involved. Also, play to what's known as your professional advantage.
Yes.
The Indian Ocean is the strategic center of India's national maritime interests, and therefore its national interest and security. And so by focusing on its area of expertise and interest and assisting the others in theirs, you can do that without having to make a major fleet deployment, work with them, etc., develop common procedures, understanding of how each other will react to things. One of the things I learned in my naval career was, if we work together, then I know instinctively how my partner will react to something, which means I don't have to ask, I don't have to harass them with questions, and most of all, we don't have to exchange orders or anything like that. They look at it and say, here's what they're going to do, and you rely on it, and you take faith and confidence in it. So that's the only thing I can add to it. The submarine ballistic missile capability adds a leg to your nuclear force, and it reduces the danger of anyone trying to take out all of the legs in one blow. Because submarines are hard to find, they're even harder to kill. So if you're threatening India with nuclear threats, where are the submarines? And until you know where they are and you think you've neutralized it, you have to kind of calculate, okay, how far can I go? And you won't go too far because you don't want to pay the price for crossing the line.
Exactly.
So
thank you, Captain. Thank you, Captain, for giving the practitioner's perspective. Right?
Oh,
so,
thank
coming from your experience. So yeah, it totally makes sense. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Sister, for Dr. Kumari. There's another question from our Zoom registrant coming from Captain Med Velasco. He's the CEO of the MICU, or the Mobile Intensive Care Unit Air Rescue. Given the growing strategic alignment between India and the Philippines in the Indo-Pacific, how can this partnership translate into concrete cooperation in maritime security, energy exploration, particularly in the West Philippine Sea, and of course on defense technology. Thank you.
Okay. So, the concrete steps on the maritime security. So to start with, maritime domain awareness is one. And a very good step has been taken to invite Philippines to be a part of IFC IOR. So this is a fusion center where, all those informations from various centers are, collated and all to generate the awareness as in what is going on. And this is basically focusing on the IOR. So Philippines presence there would certainly boost that, what do you say, the awareness. The second step is the shipbuilding. Now, you know that the global maritime trade is all about ships. And if you look at what is the percentage of the ships, it's maximum from China. Even the United States does not have that much of capability. Now, India has taken cognizance of this fact. And in the budget, it has announced a lot of incentive for the shipbuilding. And when I say shipbuilding, I'm talking about the commercial shipbuildings, not the Navy one. So that is one point where both the countries can come together. And this is also something which both the leaders have emphasized. So shipbuilding is something which can be explored. The other is also the ship repair. Right. So that is another thing. Then there is also call about cooperating in the aquaculture. Right, like the shrimp farming, the blue economy. These are some of the emerging fields. Philippines, if I'm not wrong, is a country of around more than 7,000 islands, if I'm not wrong. And India has a very long coastline, right? And there is so much of scope for cooperation in the aquaculture cooperation in the what do you say? It's the aquaculture, and also say some of the Filipino company, they are here in the food processing. They have they are present here in the Indian market. So that is also one area where both the countries are working together, like the food processing. So these are some of the areas which I can think of where there can be a tangible outcome, right? Because we have the infrastructure, we have the political will, we have to just build on that. So these are some of the areas I can think of.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumari. Top issues, sir, any reaction? What would you like to add?
Can add to that, because it's right to the point and very thorough. But also, if I may add one thing to appear useful, India has a very good search and rescue capability. They have rescued. I've never worked with them, don't get me wrong, but I did study them for a while. I think it's the 14th district, the new 14th district has rescued many sailors and fishermen off the waters. And so they have a very developed system and a good medical care system. So the exchange of professional knowledge can add to the other things that Dr. Kumari Mansi discussed. So there's a lot of opportunities there and a lot of knowledge to be gained.
Yeah. Thank you, Captain, for to that point. That makes a lot of sense, because President Marcos was also, mentioning and thanking India, because recently there was this Houthi attack and there were a lot of Filipinos were there on the and India helped in the SAR, and also recently there was this vessel which was actually sinking towards near the shore of, I think, Kerala or somewhere, and there were Filipinos on that. So India has a very good SAR capability. So be it 2004 tsunami, be it any evac from the active war zones, Indian Navy has done really good work. So we have a lot of capability there as a first respondent in the region, and this is something which both the navies can build on and work together. So Coast Guard to Coast Guard cooperation is one such thing which already is there on ground. The MOU has been signed and there is a lot of cooperation going on there since 2023. Yes, 2023. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I just want to add on that one. like, for example, like the U.S. Coast Guard has an MOU with Vietnam. They have the so-called ship riders program, you know. So the law enforcers of Vietnam can ride in the U.S. Coast Guard vessel, to prosecute, those who are doing illegal activities in the waters of Vietnam. So would that be possible in case for India to have some kind of MOU with the Philippines, in that matter? Thank you, Dr. Kumari.
I don't see any difficulty there because we don't have difficult relations with Philippines. So if there is a political will and there is operational possibility to have it, I mean, I don't see any problem. But I'm not aware of any such agreements which India has with any other countries for the time being. I know India has LAMOA with US and most of the other countries, but I'm not sure about such kind of arrangement.
Mm.
So
All right.
I don't think, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Captain Schuster, would you like to?
Those kind of agreements tend to be political, and by that I mean the governments have to come to an agreement to do it, and it has to do with the legal status of the shipwrighter. But they're easy to do if both governments are willing to do it, and it's very valuable. It's a way of exchanging professional knowledge and experience, but it also sends a signal. When you come up on a ship and it has an exchange officer from a third country, you have to be cognizant of that before you do anything, shall we say, untoward against that particular ship, because you're affecting the citizen of a third country, a military citizen. And so it has a deterrent effect. I think given the pace of, and this is an opinion, I'm not an expert, but given the extent of the growth of the relationship between India and the Philippines, I think it would only take a couple of weeks to have the two Coast Guards get together, come up with an agreement, and propose it to their governments. And then I don't know Indian law and I don't know Indian processes, but in the United States, the Coast Guard used to belong to the Department of Commerce, and if the Secretary of Commerce agreed to it, then unless Congress said no or the president said no, then it went forward. And I assume something similar may be in play in India and Philippines. I think it'd be a good idea.
Nice. It's a good idea. This is something maybe next time when I interact with my friends from Navy, I can actually ask them. They can give me some insights on that.
That would be great. Thank you very much. No, yeah, it's one about veterans, against China's, harassment, of our fisher folks, and even, all the gray zone tactics that they're doing to our vessels, the Bureau of Fisheries, BFAR vessels, the Philippine Coast Guard. So that's another one. And of course, we would like to see the U.S. Coast Guard to have that kind of agreement also with the Philippine Coast Guard. So I think, and even other countries, maybe if we have those, there would be some illegal activities up there, right? So, and in that way, our I would say there will be more, like what Captain Sister has said, that will give a signal to China what's going on. So, right. All right. Thank you very much. I would like to read the question of Mr. Robert Ryan Farrell. Okay. Given the revitalization of the Philippines Self-Reliant Defense Posture, or the SRDP program, and the procurement of BrahMos missiles, how can India further help the Philippines in developing the capabilities of missile deterrence, especially against ICBM threats? Dr. Kumari, thank you.
Okay, so when it comes to the BrahMos, right, the current variant of BrahMos, which has been supplied to Philippines, is offensive in nature, right? So when it comes to this ICBM's threat, it probably what India can do is that in the newer variants, it can incorporate sort of surveillance kind of system, so that it is not just offensive. It can also, intercept, and it can also, used in that way. So that is one possibility, which probably depending on Philippines threat, because for the time being, to my understanding, there is no ICBM threats in the South China Sea. What you have right now is basically the bullying by China and the water cannon. So you don't face that kind of threats for the time being, but in the future, if such kind of threat comes, what India can do is probably it can help Philippines to build its air defense system, because India has a very good technology there, and this is something which we have showcased during our Operation Sindhu. And we have learned a lot of lessons from the operation which we had, because we were under so much of attack from Pakistani sides, not just the missiles, it were drones, right? And as we see that the nature of threats, the nature of warfare is changing. It's no more just the missiles. It could be cheap drones. It could be, something which is very, which is not very complicated. You just overwhelm the country, like like this Hamas did with Israel, right? So nature is changing. So what you need to have is a very robust air defense system, and that is where India comes in right now. India can help. There could be technology transfer, there could be co-production. Again, as I said, that one of the objective of the India's defense manufacturing is to offer to the countries customized as per their requirement. So that is something which can be worked out. The other system could be probably satellite based monitoring, right? We have also signed the MOU on the space cooperation, right? So now that space is dual used. If you are launching the satellite, you are not just launching it for communication or for the civilian purposes. It could have dual use there. So satellite monitoring is something which India can provide, so that could give probably a real-time warning data, something which Americans provided to India during 2022 under COMCASA agreement, which we had with the Americans, and that helped us actually to push back Chinese in the Tawang sector. So that is something which is there. So dual use technology transfer and cooperation is something which can be. So it all depends on how situation unfolds and what kind of real threat Philippines will be facing in future. These are hypothetical situations, but the thing is that India has the capability, and now the political intent also. So if situation arise, things can be tweaked, and there could be cooperation on such fronts.
Thank you very much. And like that.
I can add to that. I do think of one thing from the previous question, and that is one advantage to having a shipwriter from another country is you have a witness from that country who files an official report. And so suddenly you have an official observation of what you've done or what was done to you. And that adds a new dimension to the diplomatic political reaction. So you have both the deterrent effect of if I do something and I hurt the member of a third country, that creates a problem. But also if I do something untoward, even if I don't hurt that person, I have an official from that government who just witnessed what I did. And that has a cautionary effect. Doesn't always deter, but it does have a cautionary effect. So, and India's technology, one of the things I noticed in my limited work with them is they have a higher proportion of engineers in that country than we do. And so if it can be integrated and designed, I am 95% confident India can do it. They haven't applied themselves in that direction yet, but if they choose, they'll do quite well. I mean, you need only look at some of the things like the BrahMos missile and so forth. So anything Philippines can do with India in that regard to improve its integrated air and missile defense would be a good thing. But I also am one who thinks the United States should be working with the Philippines to provide that if it's an immediate concern, because it will be a concern someday.
Thank you. Thank you so
To
much, Captain Susan. Go
just to
ahead.
add
Go ahead.
to just to add to Captain Carl about Indian capability and the engineering marvel, or sort of the way worker, we are very good at making things, or adapting and adapting basically to our real life situation. I'll give you an example. The S-400s, which we imported from Russia, they have done very good work during this India-Pakistan conflict which we have. And now there is a talk about developing S-500s in India with the Indian engineering, right? So we have learned a lot from there. And also, we did not just use the Americans or Israelis or Russian made weapons. We did use a lot of Indian made weapons. In fact, there are reports that French Rafale, which we used during this conflict, were using the software which Indians designed, right? So, technology from somewhere, hardware from somewhere, software. So Indians are really good at that, at innovating. And like, there is a lot of lessons which have been learned from the recent India-Pakistan conflict, and the way we conducted there are so many things which are not in the public domain because of the operational reasons, but there are many Indian made weapons, software, hardware, both, which were used and which performed really well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kumari. Thank you. Since you have discussed about all these satellite, drones, and etc. I just want to ask this question of Sir John Michael Gumban. He's the newly assigned junior officer of the Air Intelligence Reconnaissance and Analysis Squadron of the Philippine Air Force. Okay. His question is there any scope or ongoing dialogue for defense technology cooperation between India and the Philippines, particularly in areas as UAVs, radar systems, and cyber defense? Thank you.
To my understanding, everything is on the table. And President Marcos has very specifically declined to comment on that. What kind of equipments Philippines is buying from India. So they are not saying anything publicly, but the hint is there that everything is on the table. And since the terms of reference has been signed between Indian Air Force, Philippines Air Force, Indian Navy, Philippines Navy, all the tri-services, and also in the defense. So they have not mentioned anything citing operational reasons, but President Marcos has also visited Bangalore, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they are saying that everything is on the table. So we'll get to know only when they say anything. Right now, I cannot speculate anything on that matter.
Yeah, thank you very much.
If I may give it a thumb,
okay,
governments don't like discussing those sorts of details until the decision is made. There's two reasons for that. One is they don't want to get the political turmoil of arguments over what's best, etc. That needs to be settled in house. But the big reason is if your enemy knows where you're thinking, or your potential opponent where you're thinking and what you're thinking, then they'll push a development in where you're not going. And so you wind up solving one problem and creating another. And so the tendency is we keep quiet about this till the decision's made and the purchase is made. Then any likely opponent has to suddenly go, oh God, I need to develop for something else. And so that gives you the time to react to whatever that something else may be if they choose it. So there won't be a lot of details about it. Yes. And I would argue that they're probably exploring a lot of avenues. It would be prudent to do so.
Yes. I absolutely agree. Thank you so much. Now there is another question. Given India's own complex relationships with major powers, US, Russia, China, how can the Philippines best leverage an enhanced partnership with India without becoming overly entangled in broader geopolitical rivalries?
Okay, so I think India-Philippines relation should not depend on the third factor. It has taken up bilaterally. China is a factor in a way that, yeah, it's a common enemy. But unlike some of the countries in the neighborhood like Bangladesh or Nepal or, Sri Lanka or Maldives, who have been trying to play China card, right?
Mhm.
In my research, I did not find Philippines doing that. So Philippines and India have come together because there is a convergence of interest. We do have a common enemy, and in this case, India is not saying that you have to do this or that. Don't go ahead with China. In fact, we are talking about inclusive Indo-Pacific. We are talking about transparent Indo-Pacific, right? So and both the countries are sovereign countries having the strategic autonomy, which India emphasizes a lot on. So India is working on with all the major powers. Philippines is also allied with the United States, but also working with China for that matter. So I don't see in India and Philippine relations getting embroiled in a major power competition. It has taken up on a bilateral level because of the common threat perception and the strategic convergence. So I don't see it going that way.
Thank you very much. Would you like to add on that? Nothing?
The only thing I can add is that whatever great power competition there was existed before the Philippines and India pursued their bilateral relationship. China was trying to wean the Philippines away from the United States at the same time it was bullying the Philippines. And it was bullying India and many of the Philippines' neighbors. And so this growing bilateral relationship is a natural result of China's bullying. And I would argue that it's almost separate from the Philippines' relationship with the United States because we weren't involved in any of it. We didn't influence it in any way. And any Sino-American frictions were brought on before India and the Philippines were driven together. So I can understand the concern, but I don't see India's involvement adding any problems. I know if anything, it reduces them by providing another deterrent factor.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Very right, Professor.
Thank you very much. There's a question from Dr. Caroline Valenton. He's a dean of the Fisher Valley College and, of course, a professor there and professor at San Beda College, Alabang. The question is definitely both India and the Philippines will benefit in the partnership. Will this partnership, Philippines India, affect India China relationship, and what could be the consequences? Thank you.
Not in my opinion. I don't see India-Philippines relationship affecting India's relationship with China. I mean, we already have a very difficult relationship, right? India's relationship with United States has not affected. I mean, you can look at it the other way, but India already has a very difficult relations with China, and because of what India is now facing with America, you can see that China is opening up to India, right? There is a lot of, in India, China is welcoming Modi for SCO and calling on America or Trump as a bully. So on the broader scheme of thing, I do not see India-Philippines coming together as a problem for India-China relations. I see at it in a different way, probably like Captain Carl is saying that it is adding to the deterrence, right? So it's not just China which can work with Pakistan or which can work with Myanmar or Maldives and pressure India. I mean, India can also do it. It's just that India is India does not believe in that kind of politics, so India has not been doing it. What India does is in a subtle way. So India's changed position on South China Sea is a subtle hint to China that, see, you need to, also take care of our red lines, or else, we can also do that. So India-Philippines relations are not going to affect India-China relations in any way. What might spook China is the fact that close India-Philippines naval cooperation in the South China, that is something which China would, protest, but China does that. But I don't see any impact on India-China bilateral relations because of India-Philippines strengthened strategic relationship. I don't think so. Captain
Okay, thank you.
Karl, your take on this.
Okay, thank
I
you.
happen to agree 100%. China tends to treat regional issues separately. And for them, when they look at the whole picture, they look, how does this affect our overall situation? And they have the deterrent effect in the South China Sea and the Pacific, but it won't change China's policy along the northern Indian border, and it won't change China's desire to prevent India from getting closer to the United States. And so the bilateral Sino-Indian relationship, it'll be just rhetoric. It won't have any substantive or concrete effect.
All right. Thank you very much. So, Professor Ron Lampkin has a question. Kindly unmute. Okay, thank you.
Tariffs are a hot topic around the world right now. I'm afraid that and the U.S. is really involved in it for sure. Yeah, tariffs are going to really change the economics of the planet. But anyway, my question to you is really pretty simple. Does the Philippines and India, do they have tariffs on each other? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe you could just talk a little bit about that. I don't know if it's a problem or not. But it just, tariffs is a big thing now. And I thought maybe there's some kind of tariffs between the Philippines and India. So that's my question.
Okay. So basically what you are asking is that India-Philippines trade and
Right.
tariff exist between them or not.
Yeah, like what's the percentage of the the Philippine tariff on India, and then India's tariff on the Philippines, if they have one? I don't know. It might be zero. Just curious.
No, to my understanding, like about 60 to 70% of the import from Philippines is duty-free, to my understanding. And under the preferential trade agreement, and also under the ASEAN-India Free Trade Agreement, which again, they are talking, the purpose is basically to make it all tariff-free. The reason why India and Philippines does not have a robust trade agreement, that could be because of other domestic factors. Like for example, if we have to export a product, we will look for a bigger market, because we are making all those effort to make it manufacturing, packaging, and stuff like that. And also connectivity is another issue. So that could be one of the factors why both the countries still now do not have a robust, but again, $4 billion is not small, amount. But to my understanding, 60 to 70% of the things coming from Philippines is basically tariff-free. I won't be able to give you the exact category of the items which are there, but this is my general understanding. And with the preferential trade agreement, this is going to change further, and also under the ASEAN framework.
Okay, so it's not really a big deal then, or a big
No.
issue.
No, it's
And-
not a big issue. The
and
big
co-
issue is with the United States and with the United States, with the Europeans, because they are the major powers, and the kind of concerns which we have is basically at the grassroots level, like the agriculture, animal husbandry, the fishermen. These are our area of concerns. Such area of concerns we don't have with ASEAN, or we don't have that with Philippines. Now you may question, if that is the case, why India backed out from SIPA? Right, we did back out because there was a chance of China over flooding Indian markets, which again would hamper people at the grassroots level. But if we talk about ASEAN, India Free Trade Agreement, or India Philippines, we are more or less on the same path, and also on the same level of, or we have the same development model. If I won't say the development model, but the concerns are similar. Right, we are rising, we are growing, we have the agriculture, or we have all those sectors, smaller sectors, SMEs to take care of. That is not in the case when we are negotiating with the European Union, or we are negotiating with the Americans. Right, so I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that under the ASEAN framework also, and under the bilateral framework also, whatever barriers are there, they will be, there will be relaxed, or there would be ease of business.
So Trump is talking maybe 50%.
Yes.
Huh?
So 25% flat, apart from 25%, because India is importing Russian oil. So that makes
Correct.
it 50%, and
So
the
is China.
Yes, now so is America. America is importing from Russia. America is importing from Russia all those critical minerals, the fertilizers.
Correct.
Yes, they are. European Union is importing from Russia. China is importing way more than what we are importing from Russia. So what right now Trump is doing is basically hypocritical. What I see is he has a personality disorder. He is sort of he craves for attention, and his art of making deal. Sorry, you have poked the wrong bear. I mean,
Yeah.
India has given a befitting reply. It's not going to work on us.
Yeah, well, this is why I say tariffs are a big issue. And like I said, I think the tariff issue is going to, really change the world economically for a lot of countries.
But Professor Ron, I believe that this is a temporary phase. Whatever is this mercurial attitude of Trump administration is I think it's a very temporary one. This is not how the diplomacy is going to work. For the matter of fact, Trump is working in just autonomous way. He doesn't listen to anyone. That is one problem. He does not understand the language of diplomacy. For him, just posting on Truth Social is how the world works. But this is not. So this is, and China has played it really well. China knows that we can sit and wait out. This crazy guy is gonna go, and after that, back to business. So I see it as temporary, maybe another 1 year at max. After that, dust will begin to settle. I mean, that is my reading of the situation.
Thank
And
you.
if I may, tariffs traditionally are brought in to protect a nation's industry or a key element of its economy. And in the initial battle over tariffs, at least from the American perspective, we were looking for reciprocity. Where I think we've now gone wrong is we're using tariffs as punishment. And the minute you walk down that road, you lose the economic justification and impact. Europe imports more natural gas from Russia in terms of monetary value than it provides to Ukraine in military and financial support. I knew we were buying specialized products from Russia, and I was expecting us to sanction that, not impose tariffs on allies and friends. Unfortunately, one of the problems that American politicians have is if tactic A works for issue A, then maybe tactic A will work for issue B. And that's rarely the case. The cookie cutter approach to economic policy, military policy, and diplomacy never works because everything is unique to its circumstances. And I agree with Dr. Mancy in that a year from now, that there will be trade agreements in place, and it'll also be apparent that some of our tariff policies have not worked. And when we realize we may be losing ground, his initial purpose was to rebuild the industry in the United States, particularly critical industries that we've ignored for 30 years, and address the trade balance. The minute we walk into punishment mode, like we're doing to Brazil, we impose tariffs on Brazil because we don't like something they're doing judicially.
Exactly.
That's an intrusion in domestic affairs, which, by the way, the campaign that got him elected said we'd stop doing that.
Mm.
And suddenly we're doing it. And so I think a year from now, there'll be a stability.
Yes. Yeah.
The only thing I worry about is the chaos we create in the interim. America's a pendulum culture.
Mm.
And when we go too far one way, we overreact in the other. My concern is the domestic impact of the overreaction that's going to follow in a year. I think Dr. Kumari Mansi is absolutely right. We're looking at a phase, an exciting one, perhaps.
A roller coaster ride.
Exactly. Chinese have a curse. May you live in interesting times. And unfortunately, we are.
Yeah, I mean, Trump will go. Xi Jinping is here to stay, unless unless he's, I mean, for the rest of his life, right? So he can sit nicely, wait it out. But Trump has a voter base to take care of, and probably he is miscalculating the fact that eventually it is the American citizens who will be paying more. It might take around 6-7 months for the actual tariff impact to kick in on the American citizens, but certainly it will be there. So probably his economics is also, I don't know, it works in a very mysterious way.
Indeed. One thing, though, in a positive note from his perspective, is we now have an idea of the huge profit margins a lot of our whoever shipped to us had, because a lot of them have simply taken the reduced profits rather than impose the tariff cost onto us. So in some ways, we've reduced profit margins, which is probably a good thing. But I'm hoping that we'll have agreements with our most important partners of today, but also without closing doors to those of tomorrow. I'm one who thinks we're trying to convince countries and companies to divest from China, and one of the countries who wanted them to invest in as an alternative to China was India and Vietnam. And so suddenly we imposed tariffs over their oil sources, knowing full well that these countries cannot just walk away from a 50-year provider without consequences. We sometimes forget that countries we've sanctioned in the past, we never regained our position in trade with those countries. And so that reality will strike at some point in the next 6 or 7 months, and you'll see an adjustment. It's unfortunate that we're doing the solution A to problem B approach in our dealings over Russia. Why not just impose tremendous sanctions on Russian imports? And that'll force our market to go to alternative sources. But that's just me. I'm not an economist. So, but thanks for including me in the discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much. There is a question from my student, a college student, Kia Aina Veron, from the College of Education Department of the Fisher Valley College. How can the India-Philippines partnership in the Indo-Pacific address rising geopolitical tensions, particularly in relation to China's influence? I think that's right.
I think this question we have already answered the points which Captain Carl also made, and I also agree with him that this is a kind of deterrence by working closely with Philippines in India and Philippines. They are jointly sending a signal to China that no more. we also can work with partners, like-minded partners, having the common security threats, and we can just respond. And the Philippines is the country which has been most vocal about Chinese bullying. And in the last 5 years, India has also stood up to what China has been doing on the borders and saying that, see, relationship cannot be normal until and unless situation at the border is normal. And now we have various a round of talks. De-escalation is there, disengagement is yet to come, but then yeah, it sends a signal that countries in the region are coming together on the issue. And I mean, it's a deterrence tactics. So they can it can actually help to build stable and secure neighborhood. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kumari. Actually, I would like to follow, this is probably a follow-up coming from me. Since we're talking about all these tensions, of course, the increasing aggression of China, of course, in our West Philippine Sea. And I know there was a question earlier about oil exploration, right? The possible oil exploration. So, this is just my opinion. If India and the Philippines, we have some kind of an agreement, I would say, because usually this is government to government. The
Yes.
Indian government cannot have an agreement with a private company. Like, for example, we have the Reed Bank, in the West Philippine Sea. So, do you think that's still possible for India? Because I'm not sure if this was discussed during the visit of President Marcos. But I know in 2023 they had some kind of they expressed some kind of an oil exploration in the West Philippine Sea. Okay, Dr. Kumari, thank you.
Yeah, this is a real possibility. India is doing this oil exploration with Vietnam, much to the concerns of China. China protested. China said, no, this is our zone, this is disputed and stuff like that. But the Videsh Limited, that is the government wing of the oil exploration. So we are doing that in Vietnam. Why not Philippines? And I'm also surprised that now that you mentioned this was not discussed during the visit. So it was not in the comprehensive statement, or it was not mentioned. I don't know why. We do have the capabilities, and we know that South China Sea is rich in gas, minerals, and all those things. So this is a very potential area of cooperation between both the countries. It should be explored. I mean, I totally agree with you. We are doing it in Vietnam. We are doing it, at other places. Why not in Philippines? It's just thing. So, I mean, what is going on at G2G level? That is, I mean, I don't have any insights on that, but certainly it is a very potential area of cooperation.
Thank you very much. I know this is a question from I think I cannot mention the name, but this is another student, okay, a college student from Cambeda College. This is about the marine protected areas, of course. Are there specific marine protected areas or ecologically sensitive zones within the West Philippine Sea that are most at risk? What measures are needed to effectively protect them? So, I guess, of course, I would like to answer first this one. As you know, China continues to destroy our marine resources. Okay, so just recently, I would say they destroyed a lot of corals near Pag-asa Island. So you can imagine what is the effect of that one. So what measures are needed to effectively protect them? Maybe we would like to ask our experts here for their recommendations, Dr. Kumari and Dr. Carr. Thank you.
Yes, Captain Carl, over to you. So this is basically how to protect the fragile ecology.
And that's a very difficult question. And the reason is so much damage has been inflicted. And there is no international rubric, if you will, to address it. And the only way to repair a damaged environment, if you will, particularly a marine environment, is to go in and either build an artificial reef, or it's quite time consuming and expensive to rebuild a natural destroyed coral reef. So it would, in my view, it would take an international effort, and it would have to have an international importeur. And the extent of the damage, I haven't looked at it in 2 years, but 2 years ago, we had 107 square kilometers of totally destroyed marine environment around the Chinese island bases. And the effluent and pollution and toxic material from that construction affected an area exceeding 3.4 million hectares of maritime environment in the South China Sea, and that's because of the currents and things. And also the fish population and the crab population in that area is less than 50% of what it was in 1990. And so what you're looking at is not just a destruction of the environment, but the economic destruction that's almost irreparable. And so in my view, if we started the reconstruction effort next year, it would be 2040 before we were able to restore even 50% of what's been damaged. The fish population, once the toxic materials have settled and the destructive fishing practices have been removed, could probably replace itself in about a decade. Although my experience is limited, I can tell you that when I was growing up, we used to all go down to an estuary near where I lived, and we fished for shrimp. We all netted for shrimp, and when there was only a couple of thousand of us in the whole area, that wasn't bad. But when we became urban and everybody went down there, the shrimp population was cut by 50% in 5 years. So they outlawed private netting of shrimp. It took 12 years for the shrimp population to restore itself. But the area in the South China Sea is over 20 times larger. And so it may take longer, but it's a major effort. I mean, the Chinese completely destroyed 107 square kilometers of that area. And although it looks small on a map, you need to understand that currents, monsoons, typhoons, they all move that material around when they affect the ocean. And 2 years ago, 3.4 million hectares was affected. But the currents and so forth have continued. So my suspicion is over 4 million hectares has now been affected. But we would take an environmental and marine environment expert to give you a detailed and fully accurate answer. Plus, I've walked you 5 miles across the street. Dr. Kumari, what do you think, ma'am?
No, I'm not an expert on marine ecology, so I'm sorry I won't be able to talk about definitive measures which can be taken there. But I totally agree with whatever you said. What I can add to this conversation is the fact that Indo-Pacific Ocean Initiative, which India launched in 2019, there are 7 pillars, and one of the pillars is marine ecology. And since this is, you might be knowing that this is a non-treaty sort of alliance, and it is initiative based. So 2 countries are taking the initiative there, Australia and Thailand. They are the one who are leading this initiative, and there are a lot of things which are going on there. So one factor which comes to my mind when it comes to marine ecology is the use of plastic. And the plastic are something which is doing the maximum number of damage to our marine ecosystem. So the countries need to come up with some sort of measure to ban this. And to my understanding, there is this global initiative on the plastic free world which is going on. I think India is also a part of it, if I recall it. I think this is the UN led initiative. I read about it somewhere. So this is the low hanging fruit, but it is a very important for each and every country, and not just the country, also at the individual level. So this is one thing which comes to my mind, that the plastic, somehow banning plastic or replacing or doing something about it is something which could actually help us to save this marine ecology. Yeah.
No.
If I may, the European Union, an institute there did a study of the plastic pollution problem. It's been a year since I read it, but anyway, I'll send you either the link to the report or the report itself, Dr. Lampkin, and then you can distribute it from
Yeah,
there.
correct.
Because, they did a 10-year study, and they identified that the sources of the plastic that's in the Indo-Pacific, and they were starting on the Indian Ocean. And so it's not perfect, and it's not, global, if you will, but it's the best information that's currently available, if that makes sense.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Kumari and Captain Schuster. So I think I know every time we have this kind of webinar, it's like our time of 1.5 hours is not enough. So any more questions, Professor Lampkin? Do you have any more questions? All right. So I think I would say some of the question is actually related to, again, of course, what China has been. How can we make the China be accountable for their crimes in the West Philippine Sea? So of course there is a venue for that. So and I would say that, like, on July 10, Justice Carpio recommended, he was trying to convince the Philippine government to file an arbitration case, for territorial and maritime disputes, against China in the West Philippine Sea. So those are the ones that, eventually, hopefully, the Philippine government would listen to recommendations of Justice Carpio. All right, then I think we would like to discuss more, but of course, it's like we're all already like 2 hours on this one. Every time we have this, it's we don't even know the time has passed. But of course, before we would like to end, of course, let's acknowledge first those who attended and gave their questions, and all right. So of course, we would like to acknowledge the Dr. Caroline Valenton, as I mentioned, the Dean of the Fisher Valley College and the Sambeda College Professor in Alabang. And shout out to all the students, of the Fisher Valley College and the Sambeda College, Alabang. Maraming salamat to all the students, and we would like to acknowledge the Philippine Strategic Forum. And we have the West Philippine Citizen, and founded by Commander Lay Ordonez. And of course, we have Ma'am Janina of TV13. And of course, Dr. Driss Larafi of Morocco. And we have Sir Ariel Sacopon of Philippine Air Force. He's an aerial photographer and sensor operator of the Philippine Air Force. Thank you very much, sir, coming from Pasay City. And we have Dr. Eduardo Alicias. He's a retired professor from UP Diliman. Of course, we have our senior citizen member of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea, Sir Monching, Mr. Ramon De Leon. Thank you so much, you know. And we have a freelancer researcher, Ma'am Linda Tuason. You know, Ma'am Linda, I think you know your question, the advantages and disadvantages of India's presence in the issue of West Philippine Sea has been discussed by Dr. Kumari and you know answered by some, of course, Captain Sister. Uh, and we have Mr. Francisco Javier. He's the state auditor of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines and PICPA. And we have Mr. No, this is a doctor. He's a doctor of, you know, medical doctor, Dr. Romel Sehar of the Philippine Medical Association, you know, of Quezon City. Of course, Captain Med Velasco of the Mico Area SQ, the one who asked about oil exploration in the West Philippine Sea. Commander Lay Ordones of the West Philippine Citizen. And I mentioned Ma'am Janina Magundaya of TV IBC 13. That is the network, TV network from the Office of the President. And we have Mary Claire Dugas, Ma'am Mary Claire Dugas, security in the Philippine Air Force. We have an administrative assistant, Ma'am, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Charisma Navarro, Philippine Air Force. We have Sir John Michael Gumban. He's the newly assigned Junior Officer of Air Intelligence Reconnaissance and Analysis Squadron of the Philippine Air Force. Thank you so much. And we have an Operation Duty Officer from the Philippine Air Force. And we have General Eduardo Davalan, of course, you know, from our Armed Forces of the Philippines. And we have Armed Forces of the Philippines Assistant Branch Chief, CMO Training and Doctrine Development, Ma'am Kimberly Bali Balita. Thank you very much po. And we have the DILG Field Office, Dino Lagos, from the Department of Interior and Local Government. Yeah. And we have Ma'am Jorinda Flor, an owner of the Le Celer company, quality store, a French wine selection of, you know, she's the owner. Thank you so much, Ma'am, for this. And I think we answered your question about who can file a complaint about the harassment of China. So there are reasons why sometimes I don't read anymore because it has been asked already. Okay, but you know, we're trying to acknowledge you, Ma'am. Thank you. And we have Mr. James Custodio, James Custodio of the Tambeda, a student of Tambeda College, and Tristan Matthew Vibal, Jaira Casamorin, and Hannah Grace Gatdula, at Althea Marie Candelario, Catherine Cueva, Luella Godino, Mary Christine Gregorio, Jana Gwyneth Castillo, Juan Domingo, Darvelin Buterio, Daniel Gabriel Adel, Abimor Pavilion, Hannah Grace Gatdula, Christine Camacho, Erica Catalan, Lelaine Casa. Ma'am Lelaine Casa is a Senior Vice President of AMWSLI AI. Thank you. And of course, our student who asked the question, Kia Aina Veron Lo, the one who asked about the Indo-Pacific rising geopolitical tensions. And we have a researcher, Yadav Sani, actually from India, okay, Panjim, India. Thank you very much, someone from India. So we have Rhea May Soriano, Timothy John Palamos, Richardson Gade, and Caril Lavinia, Gisela Marquez, Jensel Santos, Pauline Atal, Jasmine Katimbang, Marinel Salazar, Dan Jane Unsod, Shera May Buhawe, Shaira May Aso, Erica Messina, Renaline Badona, Marilyn Ochabilio, Denise Meril Belolo, Amia Macalid, Shane Cabrera, Anne Francine Agon, Karen Yursua, China May Kona, Cher Paulette Milano, Jasmine Milianes, Diane May Dacles, Aliaisa Capsa, Shannon Colonia, Paul James Ramos, Annalie Viray, Aiden Felicen, Ariel, Dr. Ariel he's a cardiologist at the same time a lawyer. Ariel Galones of Manila Medical. Sofia Patricia, Sabwan Tripati. I just want to finish this just to be fair with all of them. I thank you for your patience. Caril Lavinia, Micah Gillian, Mervin Aliada, Jessica Gabriel, Sofia Orlain, Justin Talaba, John Vincent Pangilinan, April De Jessica, Chloe Quintelia, Shania Lorraine Bilo, Beverly Olani, I think, and for those I missed because probably I didn't get the registration in advance, so my apology. And of course, you know, we have Sir Sunny Fernandez and Captain Tagal, if you are there, I'm not sure if he's there. Just give me like a 1 minute so I can share, of course, on how to become a member of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. Share. My apology, because I'm doing some kind, okay. All right, let's see. All right, okay. Who are eligible to join the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea? Any Filipino or of Filipino descent, ages 6 to 40 for the youth sector, minors who are 6 years old to 17, of course, they require a parental or a guardian permission. And membership is also open to non-Filipinos who believe in the mission and goals of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. Membership forms can be filled up at the NYMWPS website at www.nymwps.net, or you can simply send your name, address, phone number, resume, or short bio and picture to our official email address at info@nymwps.net. And of course, we have our social media platforms, and you can have a screenshot on that one if you want. Just give me a minute, not a minute, I would say, just a second. All right, the social media platforms, of course, of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippines are the following. You know, the FB page is at NYMWPS, and we are live streaming right now at NYMWPS, and the YouTube is NYMWPS, Twitter, NYMWPS_official, and of course our website is www.nymwps.net, and the email address is info@nymwps.net. And before I forget, of course, I would like to inform you that on Saturday, August 19, we have another webinar, and the topic is the Philippine energy sector, over half a century of crisis. Our guest speaker is Professor Dean De La Paz. He's a retired professor of economics and energy, and you know, and please join us again on Saturday. And another one I would like to um, inform you about our 10th founding anniversary on September 27, 2025 at Manila Prince Hotel. Of course, this will be in Manila, Ermita, Manila, Philippines. All right. And we would like to inform you that we are going to be already 10 years, right? And the actual anniversary is actually September 28th, but we will be doing the gala dinner and award ceremony on September 27th. That is a Saturday. And of course, this is a fundraising event to benefit the heroes, guardians, and protectors of the West Philippine Sea. That will be on Saturday, September 27, 2025, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Manila time. That will be at the Grand Ballroom, Manila Prince Hotel, 1000 San Marcelino Street, Ermita, Manila. And of course, the ticket per person is 5,000 per person, and if groups of 10, that would be a reduced price for 45,000. And the attire is formal, a black gown and suit, or the barong for men and women. And we will feature very special guests, of course, that will be a surprise, and special live and performances, of course, entertainment of various performing artists, uh, Filipino artists. They're known Filipino artists live. And of course, our guest speaker would be Honorable Justice Antonio T. Carpio. He's a retired justice of the Supreme Court of the Philippines. And Attorney Loida Nicholas Lewis. She is a prominent Filipino-American community civic leader and a global leader, and a chairperson of the U.S. Filipinos for Good Governance. She's a philanthropist, lawyer, a book author, and a lawyer, and of course from New York City, USA. And probably you can have a screenshot of this poster, where to send your sponsorships, donations, and to buy a ticket. And there are instructions over there. You have to send all those transaction copies, etc., to info@nymwps.net for accountability and transparency purposes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking forward to see you in person. Okay, we will be there in Manila, September 27, 2025. So, this is a gala dinner for a good cause for our sectors in the West Philippine Sea. And all right, so we will be, I need to stop the share. And now, of course, I would like to ask Dr. Kumari for her few words before we're going to be ending this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lamkin. I thoroughly enjoyed today's, interaction. So, the good thing about event here at your venue is that, you get chance to everyone to talk, to ask questions. So that is rare. So doesn't matter if it was 1 hour event or 1.5 hour, time is always, extended. But the good thing is that, I mean, personally, it is my experience that I have got a lot of insights from the questions which people are asking. So which is really good that, there is no restriction on the number of questions and you give equal opportunity. So again, thank you so much for having me here. And it was a wonderful interacting with the audience. And if somebody wants to contact me, then my contact details are with you. So please get in touch with Dr. Celia. If you have any question, you want to interact with me, please write to me, and I'm always available to answer to any queries. Thank you so much, Dr. Celia, Captain Carl, Professor Ron. Thank you so much. It was amazing sharing on screen stage with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Dr.
Dr. Kumari
Mansi.
Mansi.
I
I
just
just want to add, of course, Dr. Kumansi is the country chairperson of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea in that chapter. Again, thank you so much for that. On behalf of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea, I would like to extend our sincerest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude to you, Dr. Kumari, for that excellent presentation, insight, and other observations, recommendations, and suggestions that will help the Philippine government and, of course, our other agencies about maritime security, national security, and so forth. All right, let's give her a hand.
Very much.
Thank you, thank you. It's again an honor. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And of course, we would like to thank Professor Ron Larkin. Any few words?
Yeah, first of all, I would just like to say, congratulations to the Philippines and India on their 75 years of cooperation. By golly, that's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know, just regular people getting along with each other for 75 years is quite an accomplishment. So when two countries can do it, by golly, that's a good thing. But anyway, thank you, Dr. Matthew, for a well-researched and articulate presentation on the emerging cooperation and partnership with the Philippines and India. I think you did a very nice job on that. Lots of information. I'm sure people probably screenshot a bunch of that stuff so they can read through it later. Thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to have you on our webinars.
Thank you again. Professor Lampkin, thank you. Before I forget, of course, I would like to acknowledge Sir Robert Ryan Farrell. He's from the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Thank you very much, Armed Forces of the Philippines, who's always supportive of our advocacy. Maraming salamat. All right. So for those that I miss being acknowledged, my apology. But maraming salamat po sa inyo. Thank you so much. Now, of course, we would like to ask Captain Schuster, my co-host, ever since in June 28th up to now. Captain, thank you. Your few words. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Dr. Kamani Mansi for her strategic insights and vision. They added a great deal of value to the discussions and introduced perspectives that we may have thought we knew, but didn't really. And you broadened our knowledge and you expanded our perceptions. And I thank you for that. It was wonderful having you here and your presentation was magnificent. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Captain Schuster, thank you very much too. Of course, coming from us, as you all know, Captain Schuster is also a member, advisor, and consultant of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. So we would like to extend our sincerest appreciation and heartfelt gratitude for being with us as a co-host and for all your excellent insights, recommendations, suggestions. Actually, your suggestions of having drones, I read 2 days or 3 days ago. It has been implemented by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. They have that kind of program. Salute to you, Captain Sister. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. All right, and I think, and to all our netizens who are watching, and of course, we will be sharing this live streaming. If you miss watching this one, we will be sharing to many groups and FB pages, so you can still watch it. All right, and you have only like 30 days to watch it because Facebook released the live streaming in 30 days, just to let you know. All right.
But
But what we are doing is we are
putting
putting this like in a YouTube, so it won't be deleted. We are in that process. Again, on behalf of the National Youth Movement, thank you so much for your utmost support to our advocacy and for your participation in this webinar. We will see you again next week on Saturday at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Manila time. And I mentioned to you about the topic. It's about the energy crisis. I would say this is really over half a century of crisis. That's something interesting to know by Professor Dean de la Paz. All right, so now we would like coming broadcasting live from Guam, USA. This is Dr. Celia Lamkin, the founder and global chairperson of the National Youth Movement for the West Philippine Sea. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much and good night
Thank
and
you for
God
the
bless us.
wonderful job. Thank you for graciously hosting this event and congratulations on 10th anniversary of this movement.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can come to the Philippines on
Yeah, now I don't need a visa.
anniversary.
I can just fly.
I know. Anyway, of course, hopefully in the future we can have more of our face-to-face, I would say forum
We look forward
in
to
the
that.
Philippines. Yeah, hopefully. All right, again, thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
Good
good
everyone.
morning to Captain
care.
Sister in Honolulu. It's
Good
2:20 in
evening,
the
good
morning,
afternoon, good
Honolulu.
morning to all of you.
Good.
Take
Thank
care.
you very much. Dr. Kumari, thank you so much. Professor Lamkin. Captain Caruso Tagal, our Director of Membership. I think he probably maybe disconnected. And the Corporate Secretary and Treasurer. Okay. Maraming salamat, Captain. And even though if you're not here, of course, I think he joined us earlier. But of course, he missed the ending, but it's okay. All right. Again, good
Okay.
night, good
Night.
morning, good
Bye-bye.
afternoon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.